If you're hypermobile, it's incredibly common to feel tension in a lot of different areas of our body because our muscles are working overtime to try to stabilize our joints. And over time, our nervous system becomes so familiar with really recruiting a lot of muscles to do actually a little bit more than they might need to, that sometimes it's really difficult to dial things back and really only use the muscles that we really need to. So we might be automatically using a lot more muscles, like using things like our jaw or our shoulders or clenching our pelvic floor or gripping our toes, gripping our fingers, doing a lot of extra things that we don't need to. So one of the key things that can be really helpful when you're first starting a movement practice, when you're hypermobile, is to learn how to activate some of your smaller stabilizer muscles in the least amount of effort humanly possible. So doing a very, very gentle contraction, which sounds easy because it's like I'm asking you to do less, but in fact, it sometimes is a little bit tricky. So we can apply this principle to literally any exercise that you might do for fitness or for rehab. But just for an example, today we're going to practice one small isometric exercise. And isometrics, by the way, are very beneficial for hypermobility. So it's just keeping your body still and contracting the muscle around the joints. And it's used in rehab, it's used post-surgically. We're using isometrics quite a bit. So you can apply this principle to literally any isometric movement that a therapist might give you or that you do on your own. But for the example of this, to give the concept of this, we'll use a bigger muscle group so you kind of feel what the difference is like to do it very, very gently, and then you can apply it to other things. So what we're going to use is a Pilates ball or a pillow, and we're going to practice just a little inner thigh squeeze, but doing it with the least amount of effort possible, which might feel a bit different, right? So what you're going to do is lay on your back, or you could be really any comfortable position is the most important thing that we want to be. You could be sitting, you can be laying on your side, like literally any position that's good. Sometimes if this hook lying position, knee bent position isn't for you, legs up, like propped up on a chair or a cushion, like that sometimes feels really nice. Just pick what works for you. But essentially we're gonna have something to squeeze between your knees, pillow, Pilates ball. And what'll happen is people, when we do an isometric, meaning we go to squeeze the ball, is you'll just crush it with all of your might. But instead, what we're gonna do is practice doing this with the absolute least amount of effort possible. So first thing we're gonna, before we even do the contraction, is see if we can allow any tension that is in your body ahead of time, kind of preemptively, let that soften. So we're gonna check in with the jaw, with the neck, relaxing the collarbones wide, ribs are heavy, tailbone is heavy. Maybe give yourself a moment to even just breathe a few breaths without breathing in any special way. Just like allow yourself to check in, just kind of giving your nervous system the input that, hey, we're not in a hurry, there's no rush here. And then when you go to do the activation of those inner thigh muscles to do the ball squeeze, I want you to think of a ramp on and ramp off. So instead of just like a light switch on off with the muscle, we're going to slowly ramp up to a literally 10 to 20% contraction of the muscle. So if your max effort is squishing it with all the effort and all the might that you have, that's 100%. We're gonna try to find somewhere between 10 and 20% effort. And we're gonna take a few seconds to get there. So we're gonna take a moment, take a breath in. We'll coordinate it with your exhale. So on your exhale, we're gonna take a few seconds to slowly press against the ball with what feels like literally the least amount of effort possible. Pause there for a moment, and then take another 3 to 5 seconds to ease off of that contraction, and then rest. And you may notice as you're doing this, you notice maybe your shoulders wanna pop up, or your back wants to arch, or your fingers want to do something. Notice like what other compensation patterns your body might be doing. And then try it again. Take a breath in. See if you can relax any extra stuff happening that doesn't need to be happening. And then as you exhale, we're going to take 3 to 5 seconds. Pause and hold for 3 to 5 seconds. As you're doing that very light contraction of the inner thigh, you may notice there's a reflexive activation of the pelvic floor and your deep abdominal muscles. If you don't notice that yet, no worries. That sometimes takes some practice, but it very often happens. And then slowly let it relax. As you relax, we want to completely relax. So think about widening your sit bones, let your glutes relax, unclench your booty full exhales. Let's try it one more time. So literally the least amount of effort you possibly can. Take a breath in, keeping everything nice and neutral, collarbones wide, ribs heavy. Just a very light pause. Notice what you feel happening in the deep core, if you can, to some degree, just building awareness of those deep core muscles, belly button, deep abs, pelvic floor, active just very slightly, 10 to 20%, and then very slowly ease off of that. So then we can come out of that, take a little bit of a break, and when you think of those little isometrics, we can, like I said, apply that to any other movement. So if this inner thigh squeeze doesn't work for you, to get the idea of it, just to understand the concept of it, we could use anything. So let's say it was a rotator cuff exercise. So really common exercise after shoulder injury or surgery, we might do a little bit of movement as if we were rotating our arm out to the side, the elbows in. I use my hand or a wall or something to press against. Instead of pressing with all my might, I could see if with my shoulders anchored on my ribs, can I give just a 10% effort and take that ramp up into it and off of it? So it's very, very slow. Or if I was to do, for example, like an isometric biceps curl, I could use my hand for a little bit of support here. Like imagine like I'm about to do a curl here and practice. Can I do that with just that very light amount of effort without everything else jumping in and getting involved? So you can use that concept with literally any part of your body, and that's very commonly what we do when we're first training with hypermobility. So give that a go. Let me know how it feels, and thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more hypermobility information. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and thanks.